And we have now shown how self-ownership leads to absurd conclusions like a brother being able to hump their sister.
No, but I disagree with it. Okay.
Well, okay, why can't, if you own yourself, why can't you hump your sister if she owns herself, Dave? That makes no sense.
Andrew Wilson just absolutely wrecked Dave Smith in this debate. This wasn't just a debate, it was a clinic on logical consistency. Dave Smith, the so-called libertarian champion, got backed into a corner so many times he might as well have been debating inside a cage. Clearly, these two have conflicting viewpoints, and you will see why here in a minute. But enough talking, and let's jump in and watch as Andrew Wilson annihilates Dave Smith.
So you're taking this to a weird extreme example where, okay, let's take it to the other extreme and say, do you believe that the government should rush into your house anytime you're doing anything where they determine that that's degenerate or not moral or productive? You're smoking a cigarette right now. Is that enough of a reason for someone to come get you? Like, would there be any realm where you would say, maybe the government shouldn't be regulating every inch of what I determine from divine, whatever that is moral or immoral?
Yeah, so actually this makes my point for me. This is great. So the reason that I just go ahead and concede a lot of these points, because there's no real reason to fight them. For instance, if you agree with me that the only justification that you can have is that, well, because God told you it's gross, and so therefore you ought to not do it, then this would mean that you agree with me in divine command and should be a Christian ethicist. That's why that's done. That's why I just make it super easy for you to go ahead and agree. And you did. You agreed. Absent. So I'm just going to ask this straight out. Okay. And no, I don't believe in that sort of government overreach. And I can give you my systems and reasons for why that is too, under Christian ethics, or Christian ethics, where we both take into account consequence, but also take into account duty. So I'm going to ask this: absent any kind of divine command, God didn't tell you anything, would you say that it's not moral, and can you justify why it's not moral for a brother to hump his sister? Could you do that absent divine command? Like, honest question, Dave. This is super important.
Sure. So I would say this, right? I grew up an atheist. Well, I mean, I'm Jewish, but I grew up like not a religious person. It was just, kind of what I was born into. And I was pretty much an atheist for most of my life. And then I had some experiences as I became a young adult that made me think about God and kind of get in touch with him. And then it was really when I had my first child that I really found God. So I would agree with you that, yes, there is something from God that instructs me as to what is right and wrong in this world.
Sure.
However, but before I ever believed in God, yeah, there was just a deep feeling inside of me that would have been very wrong. And I do believe that was always from God. So
okay.
I don't know.
Then absent God,
what that proves.
So then absent God,
proves nothing in this argument.
Yeah. No, it does though. And I'm going to explain how.
Go ahead.
Because you're saying that absent God is just your preferences. It's just how you feel.
No,
that's what makes what's moral or not moral. Then what would make it immoral absent God?
See, here's the thing, dude, Andrew, I think you're doing a thing here that a lot of like internet blood sport debaters try to do, which is that you're trying to win before you're actually listening to what I'm saying.
I can steel man the entire thing if you'd like.
Try to listen to what I actually said and grapple with that. What I said was not before I believed in God, it was just subjective. What I said was before I believed in God, I always had this feeling, and what I believe is that was always God. So to steel man, that's a very different thing than what you said. All right?
Sure. So I'll just steel man the position. The position, to make sure I don't get this wrong at all, is that you believe that there was some type of natural law given to you by God before you ever even believed in God, correct?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Great. So I steel man the position. So to my question, which you didn't actually answer,
sure,
which is this: absent God, if there was no God, could you justify why this would be immoral or not?
Yeah, I don't know that you could. I think absent God, it's very difficult to arrive at morality.
Right. So absent God, so you're a divine command as well, divine command theorist, just like myself. So if that's true and you're a divine command theorist, And we have now shown how self-ownership leads to absurd conclusions like a brother being able to hump their sister.
No, but I disagree with it. Okay.
Well, okay, why can't, if you own yourself, why can't you hump your sister if she owns herself, Dave? That makes no sense.
Absolute savage move from Andrew Wilson right here. Look at Dave Smith. He's tripping over his own libertarian nonsense. The second Andrew Wilson pushes him on the logical conclusions of his own beliefs, he starts panicking. This is why Andrew Wilson dominates these debates. He forces his opponents to reckon with the absurdity of their own positions. And Dave Smith, he's got nowhere to run.
What do you mean by why can't you? Why can't, if you don't own yourself, why can't you hump your sister? What does that mean?
Good question. But my point is, with the non-aggression principle, the entire axiom.
You're not asking anything, dude.
Yeah, I am.
So let's just say this. And man, I wish you had picked an example that wasn't so fucking uncomfortable to talk about. But here, you, Andrew, don't own yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just hump your sister?
You could.
Exactly. So what the hell are you asking? What's the question?
But that goes to my point. I think that if you actually have self-ownership as something more than an axiom, meaning it's justified somehow that you actually do own yourself, it's not just a social construction, then you wouldn't be able to hump your sister if you did not own yourself, right?
What do you mean wouldn't be
but if
able
you do,
to?
But if you do own yourself, you can still hump your sister. The point being,
Andrew, do you own yourself?
Under the current paradigm of the social construction, we would say yes.
Okay, but so if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to hump yourself. I don't get.
No, you still
point.
could, but that is the point.
So that's it. So you still could. So what are you saying?
So let me try again. Just listen to what I'm saying, like I just did yours. In fact, maybe you can steel man this for me.
Okay,
maybe like I just did for you.
Let me listen, and I'll see if I can.
So my point is that self-ownership is why you should not be allowed to aggress against another person, because they own themselves. Correct?
Okay.
Is that correct? Isn't that the basis of the NAP? You own you, I own me. That's why we cannot aggress against each other, correct?
Sure.
Okay, got it. And yet here we're both talking about using state authority to aggress against people who own themselves, who aren't actually doing anything you can justify as being wrong outside of Christian ethics. And so the thing is that seems to dispel the NAP. Now, can you steel man that back to me?
Okay,
so I know.
So you're saying that if we own ourselves, and everybody and an act of aggression would be violating someone else's self-ownership, then it wouldn't be an act of aggression to kill yourself, incest amongst adults, things like this.
Right.
Okay. So
if that's true, and the only moral oughts that we have for why you shouldn't do this is through Christianity.
No, I didn't say. No, by the way, I didn't say Christianity, but you said that. But
okay, fine. God, whatever the justified axiom is for God, for divine command. Okay,
sure.
If that's the only way that we can justify that this is immoral, then the idea that you owning yourself and two consenting adults owning themselves in anarcho-capitalist land can't be true, because you are willing to use and violate their self-ownership with aggression, because you think they're doing something morally wrong, but you can't justify what they're doing that's morally wrong.
No.
Andrew Wilson completely dismantled Dave Smith. This wasn't just a win. It was a demolition. Andrew Wilson took Dave Smith's libertarian talking points, flipped them upside down, and left him grasping at straws. This is why you don't step into a debate with Andrew Wilson unless you're ready to get intellectually obliterated. Dave Smith. Better luck next time, because tonight he got owned.